Good morning. I see a lot of friendly faces in the audience, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Gates. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Modular Recreation Company, or MRC. I want to first thank you for taking the time out of your busy days. I know what it's like this time of year to come here and help us restore our shore. Guess once this all hit all of us, growing up at the shore, living at the shore, working at the shore for 37 years of my 37 years being on this earth, really affected us, affected our company, affected the people who work for us. What we tried to do was to come up with some ideas to help municipalities such as yourselves to recover and to restore the area that we've all grown to love. Today we're going to go through a couple different products, one being the Modular Boardwalk. I think it's a really unique way and really quick and efficient way to get our boardwalks back for Memorial Day. Then we're going to step into some of the site amenities that we can help you replace that are still there or need to be fixed. And finally, we're going to finish up with some of the recreation equipment that we're pretty known for. So it's a very informal presentation. I would encourage you guys to ask questions, to stop the presenters. We expect you to. So with no other further ado, I'm going to introduce Keith Davis, who's going to start with a quick little PowerPoint or a quick little video of what MRC is all about.
Building fun for all ages. At MRC, that's our business and our motto. Since 1980, we've built a reputation on play systems for those young in years and at heart. Our experience has made us one of the leading park and recreation equipment suppliers in the United States. We are a representative of varying types of park and play equipment, starting with Game Time, the nation's largest and oldest playground manufacturer. We can also assist you with projects involving skate parks, spray grounds, custom fabricated site amenities, outdoor fitness equipment, synthetic turf fields, and much more. Our seasoned staff makes design feel like child's play, from first drawings to fully installed fun. We even work with you on site to draft a plan that maximizes your space and budget. Built-in thrills. From parks to neighborhoods, our play systems and spray grounds bring out the kid in everyone. The fun starts with your imagination. Once we assess your needs, we develop a system that is as durable as it is inviting for both toddlers and teens. Built-in adventure. Ready to get your game on? Our skate parks and fitness courses offer plenty to cheer about. Whether you're taking control of a skateboard or your health, our systems meet the highest safety standards, and our quality turf systems and custom furnishings score points with any crowd. Built-in comfort. While play and sports systems generate excitement, it's the amenities that take a park from outdoors to outstanding. From an entrance that welcomes guests to accessories that enhance comfort, MRC adds details that make a difference, including art, planters, furnishings, receptacles, kiosks, and more. Built-in safety. When it comes to safety, you can never be too careful. Our products are third-party tested and comply with all safety regulations for play and sports equipment. In addition, our associates are certified in playground safety and design, so your system will stand up to the most rigorous use. Fun, comfort, and safety. What more do you need? The industry's best customer service, timely delivery, and installation options that fit your budget, from self-installation to turnkey. At MRC, we provide it all to meet your expectations and those of the people that will enjoy your equipment for years to come. For more information, call our toll-free number, 1-800-922-0070, or visit us online at www.mrcrec.com.
I work with MRC, and the first person I'd like to introduce today, who is going to talk to you about our modular boardwalk system, is Kevin Kilmeyer. Kevin Kilmeyer comes from custom fabrication. He started off in machine design and flight simulators, and somehow has managed to turn that into doing high-end site amenities, boardwalks, customized play equipment. So he's going to talk about the boardwalks first, and like Brian said, I do encourage you This is a totally new product to us, and we think it's really cool, and we're very excited about it. So please ask questions on anything that you're thinking of. Bring it on up, and hopefully Kevin will be able to touch on all that. But without further ado, Kevin Kilmeyer. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for coming this morning. We have a couple of products that we're going to talk to you about today. The main product that we want to show and showcase is our modular decking. I don't know if anybody has come up and actually grabbed this and touched it and felt it, but this is what we're proposing. We're showing multiple surfaces on the deck, which include pressure-treated, synthetic decking, and an Ipe, Brazilian hardwood. Any Brazilian hardwood can be applied. We can talk to you a little bit in depth at the end of this session to get some specifics for your situation. We know a lot of the areas. We've gone out and looked at them. We've pulled up pictures, photographs, so we kind of know what the destruction is out there. Having that in mind, we've developed a system that has the ability to be set on your existing piers and utilize as much that you have in place without creating more cost. So as we talk about the decking, we go through, we see that there's been a lot of destruction. And this came about through a conversation that we had in your area about how do we get these decks back up? How do we get the boardwalks back up and going before Memorial Weekend? And the only way we could figure out how that could happen was if we prefabricate them. We have a facility that we can prefabricate decking in assembly line fashion, 4 to 6 wide. We can generate tractor-trailer loads of decking per day in 20-foot modules that can be brought to the job site, placed on your piers, anchored, and at the end of the day, you're walking away with many, many feet of decking that's been created. You're looking at maybe a month turnaround to do a mile of decking. There's no other way to generate that much decking per unit time. You can see here, you're pretty familiar with the damage that's occurred. Most of the people now have actually pulled the decking off from the supports, starting to excavate the sand back, getting ready for a new surface to go on. This interesting here, light poles. We have the ability to bracket and maintain light poles on the boardwalk. We can anchor them right on our boardwalk. Our boardwalk is so strong that practically anything that you can give to us, we can mount onto it. And here you see how the piers run, and they run in an arc. We can accommodate that. What we will do is we'll map the locations, and we will interpolate this arc based on our 20-foot modules, and our modules will walk right around this section in a perfect fashion. We tried to keep our decking system as simple and strong as we possibly could. The simplicity makes it easy to build. It makes it easy to set in place without any damage. If you were to build a deck in a similar fashion, maybe using commercially available goods, the problem would be when you went to set it in location with a crane, the fasteners would all loosen. You'd have twisting, and you'd have this different action going on that would loosen all your fasteners. That's why we've made this as robust as it is. It's a bridge. It can go with 1 support. It can go with 2 supports. It'll span multiple distances. We don't care where your pier locations are. We're going to bridge right over them. We're going to use them as a support, but we're going to bridge right over them and then carry right on with the next 20-foot section. Just keep going. So, at that point, we need to come in, we need to measure your footers, get a width figured out. We build 8, 10, 12-foot wide. If we go over 12-foot wide, it'll be a multiple. It'll be 2 8-footers connected together, 2 10-footers. So we'll be going with a double-wide system. And in situations where you have maybe convenience stations, we can bump those out again. All of our steel that you see in this module is put together very quickly to accommodate the show, but all the steel that goes into this is hot dip galvanized. 30 thousandths of zinc-rich product is going to go on to all the metal connections. So corrosion is not an issue. You can see some of the construction. I invite you to come up and take a look at our unit. We can turn it up on edge. You can take a look all through it. Again, our surface options is what your town prefers. Some people are actually stepping back and they like the look of pressure treated. It has its ills, but people do actually like pressure treated. And our pricing structure is set up that we have 3 different prices, and we've priced it per square foot, and we've based it on composite, hardwood, or pressure treated. So we can share some numbers with you on what we're looking at for square footage. So it's basically your width times your length, and you'll divide it out, square footage, and use our number, plug it in, multiply it back out, and you'll know roughly what your costs are going to be for your situation. We have different board layouts available. We can do the cross board. This would be the most common and the cheapest solution, the easiest replaced. It'll have no joints. Every board will run completely across. We have a long direction of board, which this does incur joints and probably less desirable, but there are some areas that prefer that method of connecting the boards. And then we have a cross-directional diagonal that will be fairly seamless, gives it an interesting look, and then we can tie that in with a herringbone, where every other 20-foot section will run in opposite directions. So as you're looking down the deck, you'll see a variance, and it'll give it sort of an artistic look. We also do the railings. The good thing about doing the railings beforehand, we can pre-drill all the sections, and as these decks are going in, the railings just get lagged down, the tubes go through, and it's almost a seamless, I want to say almost for free. You can do the railing installation almost for free, because as you're bolting the sections together, a couple of guys are going to jump on here, they're going to lag these down on 6-foot centers, and they're going to be slipping pipe through. So there's gains to be had by using this system for when it comes to your railing. And again, we have a number that talks about a railing cost also. We have railing costs bolted, calculated into that. Here you can see some examples of some railings that we've done in the past. We're currently working on a railing project for Long Branch. We're doing all the railings on Long Branch for the deck that they no longer have. So we have to figure out a plan there. We do cast aluminum. We can do it in any fashion you want with your town's name on it. We could put any kind of slogan on the castings that you'd like. And you're not limited to this shape. We can do any shape that you would like. In the case of the Spring Lake, we came up with this wave-shaped expansion. The advantages, there is a huge advantage. This lumber is structurally valued. We can calculate the strengths of materials. We can calculate your loading. You can't do that with a piece of single ply. If you have single ply lumber and you go to a sawmill or you buy pressure-treated single strand lumber, there's no calculation for strength because it varies so much. Or you could get a knot line, you could have a checking. But with structural engineered lumber, which is basically southern yellow pine that's bonded together, you can come up with an engineering value just like steel. And we can put load ratings on this based on what your pure centers are. Our manufacturing isn't dependent on the weather. We can start building the day you write the PO. We can stack these up. We can deliver them to the site. You can stack them on site. They can be ready to be set in place. We aren't even that weather dependent as far as setting them because we're not doing fine detailed work on site. We're simply setting them in, lagging them to your structures, and moving on. So most of this can be done even in fairly inclement weather. It's the fastest method that we could see to do this for your township in the amount of time we have available. Anything site built, you're looking at least 10x in time. And from what we can gather, our costs are competitive, if not slightly lower than site built situation. We have jigs. We already have the drawings for the jigs that actually fit all the pieces together. Our pieces will be completely pre-jigged. They go on site. Everything fits like a glove. We do have the ability to, for certain situations, we can arc these beams. They can take on a curvature. We can actually curve the beams. If you wanted to make the deck serpentine, we can angle it up for change of direction. We can dogleg it. We're pretty much limitless in what we can do. Some more advantages for us building in the factory, we can control our materials. So we don't have 30% scrap. At the end of the project, we're not looking at 30% of our cutoffs, going to landfills or just adding cost to the project. In the manufacturing process, if you're on site, you've got all this sawdust, the contaminants from the pressure treated, all going right onto your beach. And it's considerable. You start calculating the amount of cuts that go into this. There's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of sawdust. There's, all the bad components that are in that contribute to your sand and your quality of your sand. You can easily control the project management because it's just a visit to our site if you want to see where your product is. It's not coordinating efforts of multiple people and contractors problems. So from a project management standpoint, it's very easy to handle. We have a fixed identified cost, much like a prefabricated house. There's no extras. You don't get the cha-ching every time something changes. We know the cost. We build it to that design cost. It's an expandable design. If you came to us today and said, okay, we're going to go with a 10-foot modular boardwalk system, but down the road you wanted to either add length or you wanted to add width, maybe for more capacity. This system allows you to bolt units together and become wider. We would have to set piers, and we would just simply make it double wide at that point, or we would extend length. And that's a pretty neat feature for some of these areas, because I think the areas that have boardwalk are going to see a huge increase in traffic from what we've seen. Areas that aren't ready for this summer, people are still going to go to the shore, and they're going to need a place to go. And I think you're going to see a huge increase in traffic if you do have your boardwalk ready to go. And the quality control capabilities of building it in a factory on a slab of concrete versus building it on site there's no way to measure the value in that. We can control the quality. And it's obviously much stronger than any site-built application. So with that, I'd like to leave you the opportunity to take a look at our decking system.
Hey, Kev, what we want to do is if we could turn on some lights and have everybody come up and look at it so you could explain up front now.
Sure, come on up.
Look at the materials, look at the beams, and how solid it is. So if I could get people just to come up and look real quick so Kevin can talk about it firsthand. Is that okay by you, Kev?
Yeah, absolutely. This is basically an 8-foot wide section, plus or minus. We originally went into this with the thought that we would make it a clear 8 foot. So we went a little bit larger to allow room for railings, and then you'd have a clear 8 feet. We've got a situation with a township that has a deck that marginally can hold the people that they want to traffic down the deck. So we can't. So their thought is, we need to build a bigger deck. Well, maybe, but maybe not. The time you put a bench on here, you've throttled this down to where you don't have much ability to process people. So what we did is we came up with a bump out. We have a section that bumps out, and it'll mount a bench. And we have a railing module. The railing module clips on as one piece, and the other railings pay into it. And however often you want to put that bump out for a bench, you just bolt it on. We bolt it on. And now you have a full, clear passageway for your pedestrians without interfering with that with your bench. So for a very small cost, you can effectively make your deck 3.5 feet wider.
One of the things that we're currently working on, based on demand, obviously the idea here is to try and have these boardwalks ready for Memorial Day. The problem with that is we all know the bidding process. We are currently lobbying the state to allow an exigent circumstances, what we're calling it, to add this to state contract. We don't know where that's going to go. It's in Treasury right now. It has been favorably received on the front end. What I would encourage you guys to do, we can talk about this afterwards, is to voice hopefully your favorability to going through the state contract process and to start generating some buzz to your local legislators, especially your mayors. Mayors contacting local assemblymen will help that process. It has been a sympathetic ear from the state, so I think a little bit more push is going to allow us to do that more quickly. Which again, the quicker we can get this, the quicker we can get the purchase order, a supply end of this done, the faster we can get product on site, the faster we can get it installed.
Can considered like a design build as an alternate to that, as promoting that approach as I guess a backup plan?
Yeah, there's an idea of that. The design build criteria in the state of New Jersey is interesting. We operate all over the East Coast plus on the West Coast, and that is one way we could possibly go. I mean, the other traditional way to do it is a traditional bid for supply and install. The numbers that we've been able to compile, we feel we're kind of hedging our bet here, but we feel we're very, very competitive, if not less expensive than stick built products. So there's really some advantages that, this is about it's been a quick process for us trying to develop this product, but as we get more and more into this, the advantages are really staggered in the way, in speed and efficiency. So I'm hoping, or we're hoping, that the state, with your help, for people who are interested, will understand that this can really shortcut the recovery process.
Two questions. The horizontal members, that's powder-coated galvanized steel?
Right now, to get this sample together, we powder coated them, but they will be hot dip galvanized. And if you want them colored, we'll powder coat them. The thing is the powder coat won't hold up probably more than 3 years with the sand environment. So it's probably a waste of effort at that point. We could offer this in stainless steel as well for longevity if somebody wanted to actually go the cost of stainless steel. We're kicking around the idea right now of all the bracketry that mounts this to its subsystem being stainless steel, because most of the decks are failing. They're getting old. If you walk out on the beach here, you'll see every one of those brackets that held this to the deck is gone. That's what broke and it came off. And so there's going to be a couple things that I think maybe our knowledge of visiting the shore, we could help out a little bit. There's some things that we've learned that people that have lost their boardwalks, there's maybe some design below all this that makes a difference. And then this in itself, being a rugged structure, it has, we can't put a value to its strength versus a site-built situation. But with my experience in engineering, I would have to say we're looking at a quantum jump in strength. And if it's 10-fold, 12, 15, I'm not sure, but it's a quantum jump, and it's similar cost. It's possibly even a little bit less cost than doing it site-built. And the reason that we can do that is we have such good control over the manufacturing in-house with jigs in that controlled situation versus, a guy in the field setting up some sawhorses and starting to saw some wood, and here we go. And it's, in working with the lambs, it's difficult. That type of product is difficult to deal with on site. It almost needs to be handled as a structure as you would steel. And this has very good exterior longevity. This company has been in business that produces the glue lamps for us for close to 100 years. Very, very, lot of history in this product in an exterior situation. Specifically, I even have this deck on my home that's 15 years old, and anybody's welcome to look at it. 15-year-old, and my father has it that's 40 years old on his home. So you can see how it weathers when it ages. I mean, wood is wood. You will get some checks at the end, and but for the most part, it doesn't delaminate. It doesn't go away. I think you'll have some erosion on your front beam 10 years down the road from the sandblasting it. You're going to have that with any wood. But we're building this with strength in mind. If you can handle 90% of the storms that come to you, that's a far cry from, we heard one comment, build it as weak as we can, and because you're going to be replacing it. Well, I think that's foolish, because now anything up to Category 9, you can almost plan on your boardwalk going away. Well, you just wasted, even if you were able to build this at say, 2/3 the cost of this, but anything Category up to a 9 is going to wipe it out. What did you do? You didn't save anything. So, I mean, if we can build it as strong as we can, and we don't know the number that this is going to withstand. Obviously, it depends on a lot of things. But if we can make it as strong as we can and keep the cost under control, and you can survive 9/10 of the situations that come to you, that's a far cry. And then the other thing is what we're seeing. There's times when that surge will wipe out a section, and the rest of it's good, providing it was strong. This can easily be replaced. You pull out that damaged section, you put another section in, and you're up and running again. So that's our thought.
Some of the thought process with that, too, is some of the larger communities stockpile extra modules. Knowing
Yeah.
full well that you're going to lose a section sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, rather than having your DPW or having to go out to bid again to replace a product. It's a simple process, which we can certainly sit down and better define for you in the installation of it. But it's really, I like to simplify everything. To me, it looks like Legos. Pick it up in the crane, move it over, put it down, bolt it in. I'm oversimplifying, but it is very similar. And Ken, what is our install rates? What we were talking about?
Yeah, we're looking at like $6 a square foot for our installation, which is, I mean, it's peanuts. Really, I mean, there's a lot of square footage, but it's still, it figures up. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're looking at doing, you know, on the order of the way we're approaching it now, and we could bump that up, but we do about 10 sections a day. And if it was double wide, if we were 8 feet wide with another 8 clipped on to make 16, we're probably going to be similar in that yield, because one of the biggest things is moving the crane each time for setting the sections. So, you know, we can produce a lot of deck in a short period of time and actually get it installed in a short period of time. And one person came to me and they said, you're never going to be able to build this on my situation because my peers are all over. You know, some of them are 14 on center, some of them are 17 on center. This thing was built in the 50s. They didn't control that. We don't care. You know, we're not going to measure where your peers are. We're just simply using them as legs to support the boardwalk. You know, so we're going to just run right on down. Wherever our joint goes, it goes. And it's calculated to hold that. And this is our medium duty. We have a light duty also. If you have a situation maybe where you have a little less traffic, it's maybe better controlled, or if it was surface mounted, if it was actually on the sand and you had it on blocks and you didn't have piers and maybe you move it out in the fall, move it back in the spring, we have the ability to accommodate that and at a lower cost. One of the other things that we're going to offer our decking for is to get to playgrounds that are on the sand. We're going to offer 4-foot wide decking sections that can go out to a play area on the sand. And we can encompass the play area for adult seating. We can incorporate shade shelters into it. So that's further down the road. But we're going to roll this into some other products. And we also have the plan to take care of your ramping. You know, obviously you've got ramping, you got ADA situations that you have to accommodate on these. We'll take care of that. As this gets built and it's going in, we'll do field measurements and we'll come back in and we'll apply the ramping to it. So it should be a turnkey situation for the towns. There really shouldn't be anything for them to worry about after the PO is written.
And again, guys, a lot of the towns we've spoken to are going to use some of the local DPW labor.
Yeah, and that's a great thing.
Place, which is another way to save costs.
That's a great thing.
I guess, you know, what we're trying to do with this is create a custom product or a modular product that can be customized. If that makes sense. So we're not trying to lock into. Some people like Trex, some people like timber tech, some people like different types of composite. It doesn't matter to us. We're trying to be all things to all customers in terms of this product. And it's,
Yeah.
Kevin's being a little modest, but
Yeah.
Kevin's background, much like we've been working for over 10 years. We've done very, very high-end products in New York City. The Berlin Museum of Art, the Railings work. It's a $2 million job. We like to be the company that says yes. Some of you guys know us. You know how we operate. Maybe we get ourselves in trouble sometimes because we say yes too fast. But the idea here is to try and bring a product that's going to solve a need. And, you know, I think we've done a pretty good job at that. I think the idea of a good team with Gene and with Kevin coming together with the engineering minds and the installation minds to be able to do this quickly. And that's really what it comes down to, guys. I heard one town say to me, not having their boardwalk is about $1 million in economic impact per day in the summertime. You extrapolate that out, you think about the miles and miles and miles of boardwalk that have to be done in a short period of time with the worst weather in the Northeast. This might be an interesting option.
And what's your manufacturing lead time?
We would be looking at 6 to 8 weeks for a mile type of situation. That would be a one width, one wide, and we have
while you're doing that, you're continuing the next mile. And
correct. And we do have the ability to ship, you know, partials, and Gene here would be handling potentially handling the installation if your township wasn't doing it themselves. So at that point, we could be making shipments, and as we're building, it's actually getting installed and growing in size.
And we do have multiple crews. We have World Construction, Jim Davis.
Yes.
You guys know who that is. That would be here to be able to do
Yep.
that too. So we're trying to get as much capacity as possible. We don't know what our capacity is going to be, but we're trying to ramp up
quote unquote, to handle it.
Yeah, we even have the ability, as our manufacturing starts to possibly get plugged up, Jim's offered his facility to start doing assembly down here. So we would supply raw materials, and the pre-assembly would occur in New Jersey, and the product would be moving at a rate. We're not sure what the response is going to be, but we kind of have a plan in place to handle all that.
Kevin, you mentioned various distances between the existing piers.
Correct.
How does it actually anchor to the piers?
We have a couple of plans. Some of the piers are concrete, some of the piers are wood. Obviously, we want to go through and do an assessment and find out what condition your piers are in, what percentage need to be replaced. That correction would want to take place. We'd want to know how flat everything is. You know, if you look out on Spring Lake, I think you could run a string and it's pretty much right there. Everything looks good on that one. Some of them are not that situation. So some adjustments might want to occur there. So depending on whether you have a concrete base or you have a wood base, we have two different clip proposals that we're probably going to use. And, you know, they would be,
a bracket?
yeah, it's a stainless steel bracket. Yeah. Yep. And it would be actually through bolted on site. And that's probably the longest process in putting these in is slinging them and drilling and bolting that clip in, you know. So it's a very rugged system, though, that anchors it to the foundation.
Of course, part of the time is removal of the existing clip that's been
Right.
rusted away on your abutments, your existing concrete abutments. So that's going to take some time as well.
But the biggest thing is going to be uplift.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Yeah. These are a manufactured hurricane tie, I guess, if you would. You know, my hope is that we build the clip rugged enough to where if you put the crane on this after you install it, you can pull the 4 posts. You know, we want to have a rugged enough system where we're not being the weak link in it, and I think that's going to withstand the worst. Yeah, it'll make it withstand the worst situation.
We're Kevin in a perfect situation without the storm of the century. How long do you think Ipe and their Trex or some sort of synthetic material would actually last?
I don't have numbers on that, Keith. I have a good gut feel for what goes on with the materials. We would refer to the manufacturers for their information as far as warranty and longevity and anything that we would want to see that way. I think there's published data on the synthetic materials. I think pressure treated, everybody's got a pretty good feel for what it does. You know, pressure treated will cup. You know, we will pay attention to the way we lay them down. We'll lay them so that they crown. You know, whenever we can. I'm not saying we won't miss a board, but we know that. The fasteners that we use, we have fasteners that we've predicted that we will use for this. But if your town has a fastener that they like better, we'll use that fastener. But on pressure treated, you know, you start looking at 5 years, you start seeing some warps and twists, some flaking of some of the plies between the soft and the harder wood within the board, and then you get the splinters and all that goes with it. But I think that you're looking at a 15, 20-year product if you use pressure treated. That's our cheapest way to go. And I'm not saying it wouldn't last longer than that. It's a pretty dry situation. You're up off the ground. You've got wind blowing underneath it. You do have salt and mist all the time, but it's not laying in the ground, which tends to ruin pressure treated at the highest rate. So that's the cheapest situation. And if you go to Ipe, you can go to Avon. Their Ipe deck is 20 years old. You can exactly see what Ipe does. It looks almost like the week after it was put in, other than some splitting on the ends. And, you know, they've had damaged spots. So they've had to replace foot sections here and there. But it's a great, great product. For us, this is the cheapest material to buy. This is the most expensive material to buy. And this is about in the middle. But when you roll in the fact that this all has to be pre-drilled, it brings it back up just under the cost of this. For the spans, we can go about the span that we're talking here with pressure treated and with Ipe. If we go with the Trex product or any other synthetic product, we're going to add more supports underneath. There's simply going to be lumber that'll be on edge, that'll pick up on brackets. And there'll be brackets here, and you'll see conventional style lumber 2x8s on edge that pick up more of the deck to keep that waffling that occurs with the heated Trex out.
we can help you with that.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've got some other solutions to this product.
And
here.
I would only add from a manufacturing standpoint, we test our product with different fasteners for uplift. So, we can give you a specific recommendation as far as uplift
right
on the composite product, whether it's size of the screw, hidden size of the head.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of data on that. So
Good.
that we'd go for the highest uplift.
So is the additional framing figured into that when you said the different square
It is.
foot?
It is. Yep, it is. And
If,
if you're looking at like just some rough, this is a pretty good ballpark that we can work with. On the pressure treated boardwalk, we'd be looking at about $110 a square foot. So if you've got an 8 foot wide, 5,280 mile long, very quickly you can figure out what a boardwalk's going to cost you. That's pressure treated. If you're looking at the e-pay, we're looking at about $140 a square foot. And this includes install, includes railings, and it includes the modular, basically turnkey, minus your ramps. Obviously, the ramps, you have to calculate how many you have, and we have to put square footage in, and it's going to be at a little bit higher rate because we have engineering that has to go into every ramp as far as what's the angle, what's the run out, what's the supports. So it doesn't talk too much about ramps. That's going to be the one accessory that we're going to have to figure out per everybody's situation, and the bump outs. I think the bump outs, the more that it settles into your head, is going to make great sense if you have a situation where your boardwalk is barely handling its capacity. Plus, if you have runners. You got people running around these things, and people like to run over the benches and use them as part of their routine. That's not a great idea, and it's hard to stop. We've got proof that it's not a great idea. So if you can step these off the boardwalk, you're going to be a lot happier. And even from a liability standpoint, somebody goes through one of those benches when they're jumping over them or trips on the handle, you're responsible for that. So if we can move it out of the way, it's a great thing. So those are a couple things we'd have to work on and add in. And then if you talk about the situation with the synthetic, I'm going to call it synthetic lumber, we're looking at about $160 a square foot.
and again, we look at feedback on that. The numbers we're seeing from some public bids we've pulled before, we seem pretty competitive, if not slightly better, than some of the numbers we've seen out there from years prior. I encourage there's a lot of engineers here. If anybody has any ideas on that, we've got some engineering estimates on what they're telling the towns. We seem to be pretty close.
This is kind of as expensive as it can get. This is us coming in, say in Spring Lake here. If you look out when you leave here, concrete piers are in good shape. No pier replacement. We're going to have to shave off all the attachments that are there. We're going to have to drill in, epoxy in, put our anchors in. We're going to set all this. We're going to put the railing. That's railing two sides. That figures railing two sides. Some people don't have railing two sides, which is another thing that we should talk about. But railing two sides and running the length of what you need. The one thing that we're seeing, and this is, I think, pretty fundamental once you think about it, decks or boardwalks that have a clear space underneath them and much runoff on the other side seem to have survived a lot better until the sand actually filled in. But you don't get the surge directing right up underneath the boardwalk. And in the case of Long Branch, the sand exactly comes up underneath the boardwalk. So I mean, you can visualize what the surge is doing. It's just driving the deck right off. So anytime you can vent that water, if you can vent that water past, you're way ahead, obviously. So there's probably some things you can do just from an excavation standpoint. And I know people need more sand, so I mean, if you do have the ability to pull the sand back in, then that's great. But any kind of venting you can do underneath the deck versus directing it up or bringing it right to the front edge, it's going to make it last a lot longer.
You said that drilling, drilling into the piers was included in that price.
Yes.
Do you figure out each joist you'd be drilling in and anchoring into, or is that just on the outside joists?
We're planning on every beam location. We're planning on the outsides. Yeah. I say every beam. If we double this, then there would be, if this was single, there would be 2 locations.
4 on it.
2 on the next one. So each joint would have, right, and then, right. So there'd be 1 on this side, 1 on this side. it's sort of a saddle joint that connection is going to be. And these cross supports are on a period. I think there's 4 of those in a 20-foot section, and with the ends the way they are, and those will be positioned so they have the ability to hold the stringers at the different locations if we do go with a composite decking.
I'd just like to add that if you need the sample brought to your town to show councilmen, mayors, whatever, we can make that available to you. And Kevin is also available to meet with anybody, whether it's the township council or public works, whatever you need, we can make available through Kev.